Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. Up next on Another View Roundtable, why are some so afraid of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice that they ban the subjects from being discussed in academic settings? How can one complaint be allowed to ban a poem from library shelves? And what does it mean when Black folks in Florida send a message nationwide to other Black folks that they are not safe in the Sunshine State? These are just some of the topics we'll discuss today on Another View. Daun Hester, Gaylene Kanoyton, and Dr. Eric Claville are ready for the conversation. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. Before we get to our roundtable, I hope you will join me this Saturday, June 3rd, if you are interested in buying your first home. The Way Home Home Buying Workshop by Dollar Bank is this Saturday, June 3rd, starting at 9:30 in the morning. It's at the Webb Center at Old Dominion University, and I have the honor of serving as your MC for this event. At the event, you will learn how to break the rent cycle, boost your savings, manage and reduce debt, and everything else you need to know in order to purchase your first home. So come on out. It's a great time. You'll hear some inspirational stories of people who have been able to purchase their first home and what the experience was like. And so if this is something you're interested in, there's plenty of time to still register. You can do that by going to dollar.bank/thewayhome, or you can call 757-451-4011 for 757-451-4011. So hope to see you there. So our Another View Roundtable is here with us. We got a lot to talk about, so let's meet our pundits. Daun Hester is the treasurer for the city of Norfolk. Hey, Daun.
Hey,
I missed you guys. I know. It's been over a month, so it's good to see you. Gaylene Kanoyton is a political consultant and president of the Hampton NAACP, among other things.
That's
How
right.
are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thanks so much for being here. And someone who is no stranger to Another View, but has not joined us here on the roundtable, Dr. Eric Claville. He's a professor, political and legal expert, and talk show producer and host of State of the Water and the Claville Report radio shows that air Sundays on WNSB Public Radio. How are you, Eric?
Good to see you, Barbara.
Good to see you. Glad to have you back. Absolutely. So last night, House voted in favor of the deal struck by Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Joe Biden to eliminate the debt ceiling for 2 years, thus keeping the United States from defaulting on its debts. Now it goes to the Senate. At least 12 senators have said they won't vote to approve. Is this posturing or is this a real concern? Eric, let's start with you this time.
Sure. So, the bill itself, the debt ceiling, the negotiations, is something that we've seen happen before, right? But this particular one itself, it really flies in the face of divided government. And the reason why I say that is that usually what happens, you have a party that's in the majority. They're responsible for, drafting and passing and getting the votes for this type of bill to pass. However, the Republicans didn't have the votes because of the Freedom Caucus. That was split from Kevin McCarthy, which he had to negotiate a lot of deals with them in order to become Speaker anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So it was really a fractured, and still the Republican Party is fractured. They're still trying to find their identity. We see that in the slate of candidates that are running for the GOP nomination. We're not going to get into that now. Mm-hmm. So then the Democrats, especially the progressives, were like, hey, this is an opportunity for us to really make a stand and get what we want, and it's because it's not our problem as a party. However, the White House had different plans. President Joe Biden is really from a different era. He's from the Tip O'Neill era, where you work across lines and party lines, get things done, behind closed doors, and you come out as a united front. However, that's not the era that we're currently in right now. We're in a polarized era. However, that's good politics when you when you look at what our politics are. It's about negotiation. It's about working together. You're not going to get everything you want, but in this particular bill itself, it is a hodgepodge of a lot of things that are pushed 2 years into the future that are going to come up, and we're going to have to deal with them. And we'll get into that whenever you like to.
Okay. Dawn, what did you think about the whole making of the sausage?
I liked watching the sausage be made. I was pleased that even though, in the beginning, the president said he wasn't going to negotiate, I was glad that they got him to that point, because for me, it was more about defaulting on our credit, which nobody in this country can afford right now, no matter what your income level. So, but I also like the fact that he was able to demonstrate that his old school style works. And I like that it was the middle that got it out of the House. I don't know if we're going to get it out the Senate. They're going to have to do a lot of, Tim said Senator Kane, let me be proper, said that he was not going to vote for it. Long as that pipeline was in it. So, so there's a lot more sausage to be made in the next couple of days. I do want it to pass. I just don't know what it'll look like, because you can't afford to change it. Because if you change it, then you got to go back to the House. And then we right back where we are.
And we're still looking at, Gaylene, the June 5th deadline for all of this to be done.
Exactly. And this gives an opportunity to raise the awareness, because as Congressman Scott's concerned about the SNAP, benefits as being rolled back, and veterans health care. So you have issues that are going to be raised up, which typically is going to really help, going forward in the political arena.
Actually, Congressman Scott sent out a press release about the fact that he did not vote for it.
No, he didn't vote for it at all. Exactly.
And the reasoning why, because he didn't feel that it was a good bill. And Eric, I think you mentioned that you said that same word. Why is it not a good bill?
Well, it's not a good bill because, again, it doesn't really address the fundamentals of what the debt, handling the debt ceiling itself. What it does is suspends the debt ceiling.
Right.
So it's like, you know what? We've had this issue with spending. We're not capping anything that we really need to cap or really delve into the specifics of various programs that we have to really deal with and look at, wasteful spending and things of that nature. We're just going to suspend it, open up the credit card, and then we put targets. They're not caps, but they're target spending. The difference between caps and target spending is that a cap is you can't go above that. That's it. A target is aspirational. So, which means that
we'll try to get to this.
We'll try to get to that, but if we go over it, that's fine, right? But some very eye-popping details that are in this particular bill itself, as Gaylene stated, the SNAP and TANF provisions. What happens is Republicans wanted to make it harder for individuals without children to claim any type of federal benefits. That includes SNAP, that includes TANF. In other words, they want to put a work requirement with it, and also raise the age to 54. Right now it's 50. So, and what I mean by raise age, so if you can't work, things of that nature, you're fine. You can basically apply for those and you'll receive them. They want to raise the age to 54. So that means if you're able-bodied, you got to get out there and work.
You got to get out there and work until you're 54.
Absolutely. One of the other issues is that the Republicans wanted to cut the Inflation Reduction Act funding provided to the IRS, which basically cuts off the 87,000 additional IRS agents that President Biden and the Democrats wanted to go and dig a little deeper to collect funds for individuals making under $400,000 a year. So that was a total. Now, that's what we call a 3%er rule. So 3% of Americans saying, wait a minute, we don't want to pay our fair fair taxes. So we don't want this additional funding for our IRS agents. Plus, some working middle class families were also skeptical of additional IRS agents as well. Even though it said they wouldn't do a deep dive into those making $400,000 or less, still. If you have additional 87,000 IRS agents, anything
Somebody's
is
going
possible.
to take a look.
They weren't going to be able to hire 87,000 IRS agents in the next 2 years.
That's right.
Okay. So that's one thing. So I don't have a problem with that. They won't be able to hire them.
Go ahead, Gaylene.
So when you talk about, and basically what Eric says, putting a Band-Aid on it, that's what it is. But we talk about racism as a public health crisis, and we talk about social determinants of health. If people really look that up, they will understand that this is putting a Band-Aid and putting us back in, keeping the vulnerable community where they are. And I understand they say have work requirements and this, that, and the other, but you got to also have support with that. You can say, hey, work requirements, but if you don't have the support, you don't have child care, you don't have transportation, food insecurities to go along with that, work requirements means nothing to a single mother who doesn't have those benefits.
Exactly. Which is always the catch-22.
Exactly.
And it has always been a catch-22.
Exactly.
Okay.
To keep us where we
Prior
keep
to
where
this
they are.
or not, it just kind of keeps things basic.
Well, I used to be there, so that's why I say keep us where we were.
Right.
So have we ever done this suspension of the debt ceiling versus setting a new cap?
No, not that I can remember in recent time. We've always raised the debt ceiling to a certain level. There wasn't going to be any agreement on that. What it does, it pushes it past the presidential election and the new Congress, 2024 that comes in, that 1/3.
Is there anything out of Washington that is not politically motivated?
No.
I just asked the question.
Congress is finding his first design right there. He talked about.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No. So
Go ahead.
everything I believe is politically motivated, but it's motivated based on what, for some of our representatives, they know their constituents' needs are. And so they're trying to get those things done. But going past the 24 election, hopefully we will have individuals, and I'll just say it because I am who I am, in the majority who will get us to get where we want to go to protect people, to make sure that all of us are paying our fair share of taxes, and that the world will be more stable and environmentally clean.
So do you think that the general public itself is paying attention to what's happening now to strengthen that whole idea of why you have to vote? Because it seems to me it keeps coming back down to few people voting and voting for people who may not be in their best interest.
Well, I think people, it's certainly not where it should be or where we would want it to be for, those of us who are engaged and trying to get people out to vote. There's an election going on now in Virginia, so you make sure you get out and vote. Early voting is right now. However, it's going to take all of us still educating people and helping them to understand why it does impact your life and how it does, because it seems so far away. Just like even in Virginia, we don't have a budget in Virginia yet.
Right.
Still seems so far away.
We'll have one after the primaries.
Right. Okay. But still, we know we have to have one. We're going to have one, but it's not going to be necessarily what we want.
Right. So
nothing is going to be, I don't think anything is ever what you really want, all of it. But you got to get closer each time you take a step and a nip at it. But you have to have the right people in place to be able to do that.
So if you've got the Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party and you've got the progressives in the Democratic Party, and I mean, is that helpful or hurtful in terms of getting anything done, Gaylene?
Well, it could be hurtful, but at the same time, they're raising the awareness. They're raising awareness. We can all get along. We be kumbaya, and everything would just be the way it is. But you got to have some of those folks kind of shake it up a little bit, and you got to be able to work with them so you can try to raise it up. Otherwise, everything would be the same, basically. It will just be even keeled across the board, and we will not move it forward where we need to move it forward.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree. You do need those factions to speak to those that can't speak for themselves. You know, we have a two-party system. It's not parliamentarian, which I like a lot, you know, but we have a two-party system, and it's a winner-take-all, and it's negotiation. This is what we have. But at the same time, to make your voice heard, to raise that awareness, to get individuals that don't traditionally engage in this type of discussion or politics, it does help. You can also, the byproduct is, you can also put a bad taste in people's mouths and push them out, and they just don't want to deal with it. But it's going to affect them anyway if they don't. But I wanted to point out a couple of things that are very important in this particular bill that is pertinent to many of us in this country. The deal itself also, for student loans, it codifies an end to student loan payment suspensions. That means that loan holders will have to begin repaying their student loans after August, after more than a 3-year suspension. Codification, as opposed to executive order, is very strong, because that means it's in the law now, okay? And you need another law in order to change it. So that's done. So for all of you that have student loans, after August, you will have to start repaying them. It is codified. Also, this is something that I think Minority Speaker Kareem Jeffries stated and talked about, the unspent COVID funds. We've got now about $30 billion, according to the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, in COVID funds that are left, and they're going to claw that back. So basically, those funds are going to be sent back as opposed to being spent. So I'm not sure exactly what's the language of it, the time period, but $30 billion is a lot of money that can do a lot of good. But because the public health emergency ended, I think it was March, maybe President Biden ended it, you have some issues there. Now, one of the things that they wanted, the Republicans wanted, but it was rejected, they wanted to rescind new taxes, right? So, but there are no new taxes in the deal, but he suggested, and the Republicans rejected that. And then student loan debt. The Republicans wanted Biden to cancel student loan debt relief. So they demanded that he do that and that it be rescinded, but it's still left in place in the bill itself. So when you talk about who's fighting for who, it never fails. If you go look through legislative history, when Republicans are in office, they are the party of big business. Now, they do have the people to vote for them on their side, but their policies are not for them at all. At all. The Democrats are always coming up, cleaning up the mess of exorbitant budgets, exorbitant spending, bringing individuals back into government, providing jobs as opposed to contracting them out. What Reagan did, Reagan is an icon of the Republican Party, not just for the ideology, but for business. He privatized government. That was the start of it. But government was created during FDR time to help give people stability, civil service work. Yeah. Absolutely. So I just want people to be aware that big business and banks they are clearly in this particular bill being looked after, and the common person, for the most part, it basically flattens spending, and therefore that's what we have.
Lisa wanted to know, she sent a note, why can't the $30 billion go towards student loans?
Well, it's in the courts. Yeah, waiting on the Supreme Court.
That's right, because localities are states are sitting on this money, and they're saying, well, it was supposed to be used during this time, right? Like 2021. I mean, we got an issue in Virginia going on right now that we're talking about. But let me just say this real quick. We talked about getting voters engaged. I just have to say this. If we had voters who are engaged in sports and knew who won a team and who knew who's on the scores and also knew who's on reality TV, we win every time. We will win every time.
So we got to come up with a game show that we can get on TV so we can help people get all excited and energized and know what's going on. So we got to figure that out.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic. School districts across America, including here in Virginia, grappling with banning books deemed inappropriate for K-12 students because they deal with race or sexuality and other things. But in Florida, because of one parent, a Miami-Dade K-8 school moved Amanda Gorham's poem, The Hill We Climb, from the elementary school library to the middle school library. Now, you may say that's not a big deal, but Amanda Gorham was the poet who so eloquently spoke at President Biden's inauguration. Governor DeSantis signed a law that allows any parent to complain about specific books in schools and mandates districts have a plan to address the complaint. Now, in this case, the parent says Gorham's poem, quote, is not educational. Now, these are her words, so this is not correct English. Quote, is not educational and have indirectly hate messages. Now, the question is, first of all, is it an overreaction and too much power for one parent or one person to have? And the broader issue is, where does this stop in terms of erasing our history, in terms of what is happening in one state right now, but could potentially become nationwide, depending on who winds up with the Republican nomination and then the election going forward. So,
with a squeaky wheel always gets the grease. It does. The squeaky wheel, who's the loudest and consistent? This is where we are right now.
But the thing that's so interesting is that the parent admits she never read the poem. She's never read it.
Somebody told her to do it, and she did it. And we have a lot of people that just follow along, who are especially a part of the group of people who want to say or get rid of stuff. Anyway, y'all can't see me holding my little quote fingers up. But one person should not be able to stop anything. But the way the law is written, that's why y'all are so important, that you elect people who will not do stupid things like this.
And pay attention to how the laws are written.
But then the other thing that I wish, maybe I don't know if I want to wish this or not, but anyway, I've been thinking about, how come we don't have Black and brown parents going in and getting rid of some of the other books written by the other folks, other people, other authors? Because I really don't want any books taken out. Yeah. I think as a parent, I'm supposed to know what my child is reading, what the book is they bringing in, and what's on their iPhone if they're going to download it. So that's my job. But I'm not supposed to take anything away from anybody else. I don't think that that's just fair. But how come we don't have other people who are stepping up to do this? Because, we can go tit for tat, right? And then let's see how people really then respond. Because we'll have notebooks in some libraries.
True.
Because they got sex in them. They got whatever.
And
they got racist stuff in them. They got whatever. So
I have a true story.
Okay.
So 2 weeks ago, the Virginia NAACP, we held a Civil Rights and Education Symposium on the 69th anniversary of Brown v. Board. And it was an excellent forum. We had people from all over to come to be on this. But that morning, and this wasn't even correlation to this symposium, someone inboxed me on Facebook on our NAACP page and was very upset that Of Mice and her granddaughter was being forced to read Of Mice and Men. And she's a senior in high school. And she was forced to read Of Mice and Men. And because of all the words and all that, this is a Black grandmother that sent this to me. And she said that she worked at a HBCU, which I reminded her that I'm a graduate of the HBCU, and that we support Of Mice and Men because all it does is relegate what really happened back during that time. But she was thoroughly upset about it. And but I'm saying, how are you going to raise the next generation of leaders if you're not teaching them what happened in the past?
Well,
to advocate for it.
And that's part of the issue is when you erase things or you try to take things out or keep people from learning, you're cutting the educational opportunities for them to grow and to do better. Eric.
Yeah. So Barbara, the arts is simply it explains life as it was, life as it is, and also life being aspirational. That's the beauty of the arts. But when we take a look at what's happening in our school systems, it's a political move more so than anything. Here's the reason why I say that. So when you look at the Republican side and the group of voters that they have or have cultivated, what was called the Christian right, right? That particular group of Protestants, that group is shrinking and has shrunk tremendously. So the new group of voters, the question becomes, where can I find a group of voters to galvanize issues and get them to the polls? It became suburban moms and dads, and really the moms, right? So you galvanize around school issues. So that's why during the pandemic you saw a lot of these issues start to arise around school board. Nobody went to school board meetings, right? They didn't. I mean, nobody did. But all of a sudden, school board meetings became the place to go. It became the hot button issues as it relates to culture wars. So that's what we're finding now. So school boards, school systems are going to be the new hot button culture wars from now until we see the actual acceptance of our nation turning from majority white to black and brown.
Hang on just one second. If you're just joining us, we're talking about current events with the Another View Roundtable. Norfolk City Treasurer Daun Hester, political consultant Gaylene Kanoyton, and professor and political and legal expert Dr. Eric Claville. So in Florida, not only is it K-12, but it's also colleges and universities.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah. I don't know what to say other than don't go to school down there.
Well, College Board is definitely against it.
Right. You know what? How do you fight what's written in law? You elect people who will change it. But it is going to continue to impact not just in Florida, but it's going to move.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to move.
And I see what happened in Texas. We talk about Uvalde. I see what happened, what's happening in Florida and what's happening in these various red states. And it's trickling into these purple states. Get out and register people to vote and turn it out. Why aren't we talking about that?
Well, that's been the question I've been asking all along is how come we are allowing this one fraction that they keep saying it's such a small fraction of folks, but is it truly?
But you can sit up and scream. You can scream all day long, and you can show up at school board meetings, and you can show up at the Virginia General Assembly or the General Assembly, doesn't matter wherever you are. Mm-hmm. But register people to vote and turn out the vote. Educate them, register, and then turn them out. That's what we should be talking about. And that's what the people in Florida need to be doing. The people in Texas need to be doing. And in other states that's got major issues going on.
Yeah. So when we talk about Florida, we see what's happening in Florida, Texas, North Carolina. Right now we do have a viable candidate for president. He's already launched in Florida. He used Florida as a test case, for the rest of the nation. So you look at these issues, these are done through think tanks. These are very highly algorithm-driven processes that these think tanks go through. So they test the issues. So the issue about DEI. DEI was basically, I talk about the pendulum of change, right? So that pendulum swung to the extreme during the George Floyd era, right? Now it's swinging back to the other extreme through states and also in companies as well. It used to be
because the companies are rejecting DEI training now. Like
absolutely.
Crazy. Yeah.
Where they were hiring. I mean, that was like the job to get, to become the next VP, AVP of DEI, reporting directly to the president. Now they got you reporting to HR director now.
And soon, a lot of companies are actually eliminating the position altogether.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so does that mean that we need to boycott Chick-fil-A and Target and I don't know whatever beer that was?
We be getting rid of a whole lot of companies because that bad issues.
Right. So if that's a move that they're taking, that they're going to boycott, and then we take the same position that they boycott, then what's going to happen to the companies? And what's going to happen to the workers?
And let me just say this real quick. Mm-hmm. When we talk about DEI, they want to replace equity with opportunity, right? And one thing I always tell folks in Virginia, but they're doing it in some other states too. I would tell folks this is that opportunity is a big word and does not demand equity. But equity demands opportunity, and we must always remember that. Also, they're replacing the word they're taking mental health and changing it into behavioral health. Yeah. That's a problem. because trauma stems from mental health, behavioral health. You're bad, and I need to fix you.
Interesting. So language matters.
Words matter.
Words matter.
Absolutely.
So Gaylene, I'm coming to you on this because the NAACP in Florida has issued a travel warning. They say that they don't call for an actual boycott, but they say that people should be aware that Florida. This is a quote from their manifesto. Please be advised that Florida is openly hostile towards African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals. Before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other minorities. And then they go on to give you a whole list of things that could happen, including that individuals may carry concealed firearms without permits in Florida, does not value diversity, equity, inclusion in Florida schools, colleges, and universities. Your children will not be taught accurate African American history, which includes a history of enslavement, segregation, racial injustice, and systemic racism. There's a stand your ground law there. They don't actually call for a boycott, Gaylene. Do you think they should have taken it to that next level? Or is this warning enough?
Do you think that black folks gonna stop going to Walmart? Or whatever. I mean, we always say this. We say that we do a real boycott, where people stop going to these places or whatever. So, unless you be specific to what you're going to do or whatever, the travel advisory is an awareness issue to how serious this is. Now, I have people call me up, well, the black businesses might suffer in Florida. Well, when people go to Florida, are they going to black businesses? I mean, is that what they say? They're going to go to Disney and some other places or whatever, but I said they're going to black businesses. Black people, and people should be supporting black business in Florida already. But the bottom line is this whole issue raises the awareness of what's really going on in Florida. If we say a total boycott, I don't know. I talked to some people the other day. They said, well, I'm still going to see Disney because Disney in a bubble. It's in a bubble. They're against the governor or whatever, but I'm still going to go to Disney. So it wouldn't be a true boycott of Florida, So I don't know exactly if a boycott will be really effective if it got to that point, unless we really talk about something which this is very serious.
Well, when you look at all of the things that are happening in terms of the laws of Florida, and you think about from a national scale, what could potentially happen, Eric? Yeah. Should people be concerned?
Well, again,
should black people be concerned?
Sure. So when you talk about, the warning in Florida been hostile to African Americans. Florida has always been hostile, to African Americans, right? But it's an international city, right? I mean, they have the biggest attraction in the world still. That's Walt Disney. Brings people from around the world. It's an aspirational place for people to go, whether it be their birthday, whether it be honeymoon, whether it be whatever it is. But it's a great place. I spent a half a decade there, with the boys. But with that being the case, it is again something to pay attention to across the country because Florida is now the state. Virginia and Florida. Those are the two states that individuals are looking at when you take a look at policies, take a look at elections, because of their position, because of the increased influence that these two states have, because of the population, diversity of the population, and where they're located. Of course, California, New York, and Texas, they're going to hold a lot of weight because of their population. However, influence, testing policies, understanding where the country is going. Those are the two states. It's the Commonwealth here in Florida. So this is something we should pay attention to. It definitely will be something duplicated across the country in other states. So I would say yes.
Well, we remember the weapons of mass destruction back when we had Bush was president. So now you look at DeSantis, the governor of Texas asked for help to deploy troops to the borders. DeSantis did it, and now Governor Youngkin is deploying national troops. And it's declining. I mean, the immigrants are declining. They're nowhere near the numbers where they were before. And that's to Eric's point. They're creating this. Oh, it's problems there. but it's declining. And so now we're spending money in Virginia to send troops over there. DeSantis, and it's Virginia and Florida are doing one step together. Now, I don't know if Governor Youngkin, he said he's going to run for president, but maybe he's going to be the vice president to DeSantis. Maybe they going as a team. They talk every night, I heard, anyway.
Well,
so y'all, isn't that frightening just to hear what we're saying?
Yes, it's frightening.
It should be frightening to every listener, the conversation that we're having. And it's just not impacting black people.
Right.
The laws that are being drafted and written and approved and signed impact all of us.
And I think part of the problem is because we point out the specific harm to African Americans, that sometimes people think, well, that's their problem.
Right.
But your point is,
it's all of our problems, because our children interact with one another of all races. They don't care because that's the way we raised them. But now what you're trying to do is take a whole generation of young adults that we have raised and young children that we are raising and trying to say, now you need to be separated? Or now that you can't learn what Dawn went through, but I got to learn what you went through? No. It has to be equitable, that we learn everything. Because it's not good on either side, in either race, or wherever you come from. So, the border is an issue, but who can make it fix it? The people up there in D.C., they just got to put the rules in place and make it law. But they're not going to do it because they're going to continue to use it as an issue to divide us. People just want to work. We still got even though the job market is great, so they say, we still got a whole lot of signs up there. People still need a lot of workers. And now, what's the state? I don't know the state, but they reducing the age for children to work, to get a work permit.
16,
so you can
15.
work.
I think it's 15.
Right now it's 15, 8 months in Virginia, but it was another state where they were taking that away so children can work.
Yeah.
Eric.
But Barbara, the immigration issue is a bigger issue. And this is one thing that I remember watching Frontline documentary, doing some research on it about 4 years ago. We're going to start to have what's at that time period, it was about climate change refugees, right? And what's happening in countries, especially what actually really sped this up, not just climate change, but also the pandemic. A lot of countries, now we're in our bubble, we're in the United States, reserve currency, even though we're $31 trillion in debt, which is just astronomical. But we are, if we need money, we just print it and we do whatever we want. These countries, they can't do that. So people are suffering tremendously. People are leaving the continent of Africa, taking boats over to Europe, coming to South America, traveling up through South America, through Central America, across the Panama Canal, up through Costa Rica, just to get to the United States, then to be turned back. And they said, we'll do it again because things are so dire.
They're so bad.
So we have people around the world that are trying to get to the United States because of a bigger issue. So the immigration problem itself, yes, it is a political wedge, but it's a world policy that we really have to provide assistance to other countries to help their economies get off the ground, political stability and safety. And a lot of that is driven by our change in the climate and clean energy, which needs to move forward. But because of the pipeline and the bill,
the pipeline and the bill,
and other things, it's not doing that because, the sun is free, right? You can't really make money off of that. The wind is free.
So in this whole idea of rolling back EPA protections is a big thing.
It's about money. Listen, when it comes to war, when it comes to making weapons, when it comes to energy, when it comes to oil. By the way, the biggest maker of oil is actually plastic. Plastic is the scourge of our Earth. I mean, it is destroying our oceans and everything. But at the end of the day, it's about money, and that is what you call wrath of God money, right? So you mess with that money, these entities will bring the wrath of God upon you. So they push and push to get these things done, and that's what we talk about. Not really looking out for everyday people, but at the end of the day, It's about capitalism.
So, Lisa did some research for us on the state. So the legislation in Iowa would, for example, allow children as young as 14 to work in meat coolers and industrial laundries. In Ohio, Republican state senators last month approved a bill that would allow 14 and 15-year-olds to work until 9 p.m. during the school year.
Right.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
We're trying to create workers for these large businesses because they can't get people to come in and work and clean up after they've been in the chicken houses or meat packing places or whatever, and they get the children to do it. And it allows a family to bring some more money in the house.
Yeah.
And they need more money because they're trying to stay in a home or stay in a place. And rents are going up.
It goes back to social determinants of health, and it goes back to not having the resources to provide it to make our families move forward. And that's what it is.
And we wonder why there's a mental health issue in this country.
Which they call behavior health now. Right. But anyway.
So in Virginia, Governor Youngkin just announced that no more, or for 90% of the jobs, state jobs, that will no longer require a college degree. Will that be helpful to increasing the workforce or not?
Eric. All right. So, I read that and I have mixed feelings about it because, of course, you need an area of specialization. You need some education to do certain things.
They say they'll still require certifications,
right?
But just no college degree.
Right. Certification is totally different from college degree. Because in college, you're not just learning a specific task, right? But you're learning to be, you're learning everything, being a Renaissance, the classical liberal arts, which also includes mathematics and also science. Without, you become a more well-rounded person. The critical thinking skills are there. It allows you to really be creative in the job itself. Now, when you learn certification, you learn to do that job, and when that job is done, you're not. I'm not saying the person can't maneuver, but it's you're not trained to do that. So, to answer your question, will it increase the employment pool? The answer is yes, of course. Will it make a division better? I can't really say that because you have to look at what those jobs demand. So I understand why he did it. I get it, because there's this push in higher education to really take away, to diminish the impact of higher education. As a matter of fact, there was a Wavy had a poll that showed that more Americans are not choosing to go to college, higher education. And if you look at the legislature, when you look at the chair of the higher education committee, when you look at the chair of appropriation, look at chairs of very important committees in our government, none of them have college degrees.
Interesting. Gaylene?
Well, you look at some of the appointments and everything that this governor tried to do with this one, they have no experience whatsoever. Right. We had a time, we just had something where Senator Locke was taking off a regional Southern education board, and she's got like over 40 years of education or been in education, and he was trying to replace her with was it Colin Green or one of them he's replacing with, but she's the chair of the Rules Committee, so they don't understand what Rules Committee chair means. But anyway, she'll be back on. But my point is, it's happening already, and I think that as we talk about a play on words, that he's saying that okay, you no longer have to have a degree. They take it another level further, that you don't have to have any experience. That's what I think. Now, President Biden has skill-based hiring program. And now he came out with that first, but it's a criteria for that. And I think to Eric's point, you got to have a criteria. You just can't say, well, we're just going to take away all of this degrees and this and to diminish. And higher education is under attack anyway in Virginia, major. They're finding all kinds of ways to usurp our education, usurp our voting rights, and everything else. So you got to pay attention to peel back the onion on what this really means, and it's going to be more to come.
Okay, speaking of words.
I kept segueing.
Speaking of words, Dr. Henry Louis Gates, and everybody who listens to NPR knows who Dr. Henry Louis Gates is the editor-in-chief of the Oxford Dictionary of African American English. Now, the researchers say that they aim to publish a first batch of 1,000 definitions. Some words and phrases will have more than one by March of 2025. But the most important goal of the project, which will be edited by Dr. Gates, who is a scholar of African American history at Harvard, is to underscore the significance of African American English and to create a resource for future research into Black speech, history, and culture. And among his other bona fides, Professor Gate is a dictionary nerd. So there you go. So the first 10 words.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Bussin'.
Yes.
Grill. Promised land. Chitterlings, or chitterlings, depending on your pronunciation. Kitchen. And we're not talking about where you cook. Cakewalk. Old school. Pat, Aunt Hager's children, ring shout. I think that's the last one.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's the last one. So, okay, so grill, for example. We're not talking about a barbecue grill. Grill is a noun, and here's the definition. A removable or permanent dental overlay, typically made of silver, gold, or another metal, and often inset with gemstones, which is worn as jewelry. So that's different. What do you guys think about the African American Dictionary? Dawn, I got to come to you because you were funny. When you came in, you're like, why?
Yeah, I don't know. And I can't give you a word that I think should be in there. I'm in sit here Googling there trying to find one so I can give you one. But I will tell you, part of my issue with some of the, not issue, it's just not my understanding or desire to learn. The songs and lyrics that our children, young people, young adults listen to, I don't know what they be saying. So maybe that's my word. I don't know what they be saying. So I don't know what the words mean. So then I'm confused about what is it supposed to mean. Are you telling me I'm good? Are you telling me I'm bad? I don't know the way it comes out your mouth. I'm trying to get the
because you gotta have the
nuance,
the nuance and the way that you say it.
I don't understand some things. So I can't get through it to even try to, as a senior adult, I'll call myself.
You're a senior millennial.
Person.
Senior millennial.
Okay. And I try to understand, but I don't. And I do ask my grandchildren what that means.
See, well, here's something else Dr. Gates said.
Can't tell you.
So he said, okay, the farther back in history, the less we can find Black people having agency over how they're written about. That's from Bianca Jenkins, who's a lexicographer. Working on the project. Due to enslavement, Black people were prevented by law from being educated, from being taught to read. Black people had to take it upon ourselves and educate ourselves. But they also say that part of the reason why they're doing this dictionary, Black people take language and wrap it around themselves. Professor Gates said they turn words inside out. It's about words that morphed into other pronunciations and evolved to have a veiled meaning for the safety of Black people. So,
well, I think the gospel bird need to be part of it. Gospel dictionary. Y'all know what the gospel bird is, right?
No, what's a gospel bird?
You don't know the gospel bird? You know what the gospel bird is? Chicken on Sunday. Chicken on Sunday. What you having? I'm having a gospel bird today. Y'all never heard of that before?
No.
See, there we go.
Real true story is that when I was growing up, Marvin Gaye came out with "Let's Get It On,"
right?
And I was singing it around the house, "Let's get it on," and my father was like, "Do you know what you're singing?"
Right.
And I was like, "No, I don't." I'm like, "Yeah, let's get it on," and I got a spanking behind it, but anyway, whatever. I didn't know what it meant. He told me what it meant or whatever. So that's a reverse to what you were saying.
Right. But then you can take that if you don't listen to all the words. Let's get it on could be let's fight. You know? So if you don't listen to
and
all the words,
it
you gotta...
depends on how it shows up. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. The gospel bird is also called a yardbird pimp.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
But listen,
I'm showing my age.
I was definitely cheesing at this because I'm an old soul, right? Okay. So I love being around older people and so forth. So I have about 8 words, right?
Okay, 8 words.
Yeah, 8
Whoa,
words.
okay.
Several that just come. Yeah.
Okay, well, we only got 3 minutes left in the show, so go ahead.
Here
Go
we
for
go.
it.
Here we go. So from my church background, fix it, Jesus.
Yes, yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's
so
right.
what does that mean? Just Lord, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
I'll give it
fix
to
it.
you. All right. My grandfather used to say, "You on the ball?
You on the ball?
You on the ball?"
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that simply meant, are you staying on task? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you getting your grades and things of that nature?
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. From the old heads, old uncles, watch out there now, boy.
Say that one more time so our audience can
Yeah.
understand.
So slowly it's watch out there now, boy. But it's one of those sayings. It's a greeting. What's going on? It's also by inflection. Watch out there now, boy. Look at you now. Ooh, you're clean now. You're sharp. So sharp is you're looking good. And so forth. All right. So these are some words from my brothers, Costa Nostra, my line brothers from Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity
All right, I got 2,
Incorporated.
so hurry up.
Got it in there.
So real quick, spring 23. All right. So they gave me CAP. Right, cap is basically when you say something you're very opinionated, or you say something false. No cap or cap, or he capping on you. Savage is a person that's fierce, or you just somebody that's not afraid of anything, right? Or even a female that's savage. She looks good. From a homeboy in college, we say, "Oh man, she jazzy." So she looks good.
Okay.
All right. Hang on. Let me get that Gaylene in here because we got 2 minutes left.
He got uppity dictionary, black dictionary over there. But sold out.
Sold out.
Yeah, sold out is one of them.
Explain what sold out means.
Sold out means when you sell people out in your community. Like you have some politicians that sit up there and they'll say, I'm just using an example. They vote the other way and not against the agenda of black people. So they sold us out, right? So we use that other word. Once you go black, you won't go back.
Twin.
And what does that mean?
Has a lot of different meanings, Gaylene.
And the other one is, and he said you clean as a board of health. I think he said something like that too. And there's no rest for the weary.
No rest for the weary.
2 more. No,
Okay.
One more, slide. When you slide to somebody DMs or you slide to somebody, it could be a message. It could be something romantic. And also twin, right?
Twin.
It's somebody you can't stand, but also somebody you can't live without. He's my twin. What's up, twin? Also, holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy.
I go all day.
That's right.
And look, that's just off top.
So you all
And boo. And boo.
And boo. Actually, boo is in
Boo is
here.
on
Boo in
there.
there? Okay.
Yeah, I can't find it right this second, but
It's on there.
boo is in here. So. Grill, Promised Land, I think you know what that is. Chitlins, we know what chitlins are. If you don't know what chitlins are, they are pig intestines. And they taste good, my personal opinion.
Or the chitlin scene. Or the
chitlin scene, yes. Kitchen, though, is the hair at the nape of the neck, which is typically shorter, kinkier, and considered more difficult to style.
That's right.
Thank you, Roundtable. I love you guys. Absolutely. And thank you, audience, so much for spending an hour of your life with us here on Another View. You can hear this show or any of our previous broadcasts on our website, anotherviewradio.org. And please sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. Next week on Another View, an encore presentation of the live on-location show on the history of the Buffalo Soldiers. This show is now up for a Salute to Excellence Award with the National Association of Black Journalists. Yay, Another View. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. And let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.